Syracuse from Sports Hour. We're live here at the Bills game.
Did you get that?
Did you get that?
Good evening and welcome into another episode of Sports Hour. I am Kevin Syracuse alongside Aaron Sember, our AFC analyst. And Aaron, after tonight's game, we are at the conclusion of Week 7 already.
I can't believe it. It's going so fast.
Neither can I. I mean, it seems like it was just Week 1 where the Jets played the Bills. And now the Bills play the Jets again and it's Week 7.
Yep.
So that being said, it wasn't pretty, but a win's a win. The Bills pulled it off yesterday. I was getting a little nervous, not going to lie. 10-0 in the second quarter against the winless Jets. But Josh Allen and the Bills pulled it off, and they moved to 5-2 and are a game and a half up on the Dolphins in the AFC East.
I think you should say Tyler Bass pulled it off because, I mean, he scored all the 18 points, and I mean, didn't he miss 2 as well?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, like you said, Kev, a win's a win. So congrats for the Bills on winning.
Yeah, so you're right. I shouldn't have said Josh Allen. That was pretty much Tyler Bass. I mean, Allen led them down the field, as you can see here in the highlights. You know, he quietly had a 300-yard passing game. He was 30 of 43, 307 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. He lost a fumble, and he added 61 yards rushing. But, yeah, Tyler Bass was literally the reason that they won.
Yeah, I mean, I started Beasley this week, and I was really happy because it was either that or Godwin. And, I mean, Godwin played good as well, but Beasley had a 100-yard game. So, I mean, he looked really sharp.
Yeah, this was a great week for Cole Beasley because the Bills are really hurting without John Brown. You don't have that deep threat to stretch the top of the field with John Brown being out. You know, he was out against the Titans. He played against Kansas City, was banged up. And then he was out again yesterday. So now the Bills were forced to work the short game. You know, Allen had to hit those quick hitters. He had to, hit guys in the flat, quick little slant routes here and there. And that's exactly what Cole Beasley's for. 11 catches, 112 yards. So if you have Cole Beasley on your fantasy teams, put him in your lineups. Yeah. He's going off right now. 470 yards for the Bills slot receiver.
Yeah, big thing about the Jets, I remember like fantasy football was basically saying that start Beasley because the Jets are not good in the slot, and that's obviously where Beasley is amazing. So he really did show out, which is good because, Beasley's been a couple places already. So it's good, I guess, that, he found the home in Buffalo, which is great to see.
Yeah, I really love that signing when the Bills got him last year. Now, as for the defense, 4 total yards they held the Jets to in the second half. Now, I know it's the Jets, and I know the defense hasn't looked great over the last couple of weeks, including the first half against the Jets, but they made the adjustments, and they really tightened up. 4 total yards that they held the Jets to in the second half. 6 sacks on Sam Darnold and 2 interceptions. And that's the defense that we've been waiting to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously against the Chiefs, everything blew up. But it's good to see now that with the Jets, I mean, obviously they're 0-7 or whatever they are now, but it was a good turnaround because obviously, like you said, the Jets weren't they winning at 10-0 at one point in the game?
Yeah.
So it was obviously a great turnaround, and that gave Tyler Bass probably some confidence. The defense really helped him and got him on the field whenever they needed to kick a field goal, and obviously all the 18 points were accredited to him.
Well, again, you can look at this and say, how do the Bills only beat the Jets by 8? You should be able to beat them by more than...
By 38.
18 to 10. It's like, what? You're losing 10-0 to the Jets, and then you only win by 8. And now, credit to the Jets. They were hungry. They're winless, so they're giving it all they have. Whether they want to play for Adam Gase or not, that's a whole nother story. But you know, I forgot where I was going with this, but that's the same. This was a perfect reset week for the Bills because, like I said, they've had 2 really crappy weeks against Tennessee and Kansas City, and now this week you say, well, like I was saying in the beginning, it wasn't pretty, but a win's a win. They learned how to work that short game with Beasley. They got the run game going again. Their defense came alive in the second half, and now a huge game next week against New England, who is 2-4, and the Bills are favored by 4 points. And that's only the 6th time since 2000 that the Bills have been favored over New England, first time since 2015. So it's a little concerning that the Bills aren't as sharp as they were in the first couple weeks, but at the same time, to be 5-2 and the Patriots are 2-4, you gotta love it.
Yep.
So that being said, our next game is the Patriots game, and they lost 33-6 to Jimmy G, which is ironic because he probably should be in New England right now. You know, that was the whole debate. Should we get rid of Brady and let Jimmy G be our guy? And ultimately they went with Brady. A couple years later, obviously now he's in Tampa Bay, and now Jimmy G's doing pretty well out in San Francisco, and he made the Patriots pay for it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing wasn't really about Jimmy G. It was really the 49ers rushing game. They had 4 rushing touchdowns. Jeff Wilson Jr. had 3 on 112 yards rushing. And it seems that the San Francisco defense was just mauling the Patriots. They caused 4 turnovers. So, I mean, obviously a couple weeks ago, I forgot who the San Francisco team lost to, but they lost pretty bad. Oh, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they were like, wow, we need to wake up. And it seems like they were pretty beat up with injuries, and it seems like I feel like now everyone's getting healthy, which is good.
Yeah, they still have some injuries, but a lot of them are starting to come back, and they're 4-3 now, and you know the NFC West is going to be real tough because every team is really they're playing
stellar. Yeah, they're amazing.
That's one of the best divisions in all of football. So if you're a San Fran fan, you really want your team as healthy as can be. You know, maybe add a few pieces at the trade deadline, which is coming up, because they're definitely not out of it yet. And the healthier they get, the better they're going to get. And then as for the Patriots, Cam Newton gets benched, 3 picks. What was he, 9 of 15 or something?
I think he threw under 100 yards. Something about that.
So Bill Belichick said he's definitely the starter next week against Buffalo, but I mean, you don't hate the Patriots as much as us Bills fans do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's got to be nice to see the Patriots starting to fall apart here.
I think Newton's only thrown 2 passing touchdowns this year, because he's rushed probably like 3 to 5 of them already. So
he was 9 of 15 for 98 yards and 3 picks.
Yep.
Jarrett Stidham came in 6 of 10, 64 yards and a pick.
I don't know. I don't know who they could probably start Edelman. He could probably play better.
Yeah, really. Honestly. So big game for the Bills next week in Orchard Park. Hopefully they will go to 6-2. Now going over to the AFC North. This was a great game.
Great game.
Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Yep.
And this came right down to the wire, and Baker Mayfield showed up, and did you see that meme?
How he was dancing at the end, or?
Well, no, the meme was the Baker Mayfield life cycle, where you go from really good to really bad, and you know you're mocked he calls out the doubters, then he plays terrible, then people mock him, and now it's just gonna all start it over again. But for right now, he's at the top of the cycle.
Yep. He hit Donovan Peoples-Jones with 11 seconds left in the right corner of the end zone to get them up by 3, and obviously Burrow, I think, he literally had like 6 seconds, and they got a quick play, and then Burrow threw the ball down the field, and it must have traveled at least 65 yards. It was at the tip of the end zone, right in the front. I feel like if the Bengals receivers were more if they were more focused, one of them easily could have caught the ball. I don't know who it was. I think it was A.J. Green, and obviously A.J. Green has had his frustrations this year, especially with the Bengals, but they at least they didn't even try to go for that ball, and it was perfect for one of them to at least catch it, and it got knocked down, and then that was the game.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Joe Burrow finished 35 of 47, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. So you gotta like what you're seeing out of Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow's-
Now, if the team can get better around him, that's key.
Burrow's the real deal. Bengals fans, don't worry.
Now going back to Baker Mayfield, he started 0 for 5 with a pick, and he finished 22 of 23, 297 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So that was a great game for Baker, and now the Browns are 5-2.
Yep. Looking real good.
So the next game we have on our list here, staying in the AFC North, the Steelers and the Titans, and Pittsburgh is they are the only team that's still undefeated. They moved to 6-0.
This was Big Ben had a clinic in the first half. I mean, this game was, I think it was 24-7, and basically the Titans just rallied back. They got into field goal range at the end of the game, and I think it was a Steven Gostkowski 46-yarder with like very little time left on the clock. They milked the clock, so they have one chance to tie the game. And he missed. He missed a 46-yarder, and I couldn't believe it. My mouth was wide open at the end of the game.
Yeah, Gostkowski's been pretty shaky this year.
Yeah.
He had that off-season surgery, and he really hasn't been the same since. I actually dropped him as my fantasy kicker because he had a couple nice weeks, but he's had like 3 or 4 weeks where he's just not had it. And he's been missing extra points, field goals, and he's not the same Steven Gostkowski that we knew in New England.
In New England, yeah.
But as for the Steelers, 6-0, the defense is looking great. Roethlisberger, not his best day. 32 of 49, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. But they're starting to get contributions from guys all over the place. You know, James Conner, Benny Snell had a touchdown yesterday. Juju, Deontay Johnson,
yeah.
Eric Ebron had 50 yards. Finally had some fantasy points from him.
Yeah.
Chase Claypool, he only had -2 yards, but he's been going off lately. So Steelers, they're good every year. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches, I think, in the league.
Yep.
Now, as for your team, Kansas City and the Broncos, the Chiefs.
Snow game.
Yeah, already. Not even November yet.
Yep,
We had our
it
first
was,
snow game.
I think it was 16 degrees in Denver with a wind chill of, I think, -2 or something of that sort. And, you know, this game wasn't about Mahomes. It wasn't about Kelsey. It wasn't about Tyreek Hill. It was about the Chiefs' defense and the Chiefs' special teamers. And I think the defense and the special teams really wanted to, you know, push all those offensive guys out of the way. You know, sure, we got one of the best offensive talents in the league, and sure, our defense has been shaky from time to time, but I feel like this was a true testament to how good the other sides of the ball, like defense and special teams, could be.
Yeah, it was somewhat close at first, but then the Chiefs just ran away with it.
Yep.
And Mahomes still put up relatively good numbers. You know, it wasn't the crazy 400 or 500 yard game that we're used to seeing, but still 15 of 23, 200 yards, a touchdown, and a 107.2 rating.
Yeah,
so still pretty good for considering how cold and snowy it was.
Yep. And then Chad Henne came in garbage time and also scored a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's always, I thought we were going to settle for a field goal, but I guess he found a way in the end zone as well.
And as for the Broncos, Philip Lindsay started he had 9 rushes for 79 yards in the first half, right into the third quarter. Helmet-to-helmet hit. I can't remember who the Chiefs defender was, but knocked him out of the game.
It was Sorensen.
Okay, yep. And that was it for Lindsay. And I think I lost my fantasy game because of that, because I think he would have had at least 10 or 15 more points. I mean, Melvin Gordon played pretty well in relief of him.
Yeah.
And I ended up losing my fantasy league by just a couple points. So I was like, come on, man. Because Lindsay was running great.
Yeah. I feel like it was too late for the Broncos because once they got into it, it was already 38 to 7. And then they started crawling back, and it ended up the final score being 43-16. So
the Chiefs moved to 6-1. The Broncos are 2-4. And sticking with this AFC West, the Chargers and the Jaguars, Justin Herbert got his first win, and he looked great.
Amazing. I actually started him in fantasy. It was either him or Kyler Murray, and obviously Murray also played great. You'll find that out in the next segment. But, yeah, he had a total of 4 touchdowns, which was, you know, obviously when you think of a rushing touchdown and you think of a Chargers quarterback, you really don't think of those 2 and 2 together, obviously, because Old Man Rivers has been there for so long. But it's good that there's, you know, they spice it up, and I really feel like Herbert right now is playing like a offensive rookie of the year candidate for sure.
Well, you got to give credit to the Jaguars for coming back. I believe it was 16 to nothing at one point.
It was actually 20. Yeah, by the end of the third quarter, it was 26-26.
Yeah.
And then by the fourth quarter, the Chargers just ran away with the game.
Yeah, so Herbert finished 27 of 43, 347 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then he added 66 yards on the ground and another touchdown. So, you know, there was all that controversy. Is it Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert? And the old theory, you can't lose your job due to an injury. Tyrod had his lung punctured by the team doctor. And then Anthony Lynn kept saying, nope, Tyrod's our guy, Tyrod's our guy. And then just a week or two ago, he said, never mind, I'm sorry, but Herbert's our guy.
I remember, sorry to cut you off, but I remember.
I was going to say, I feel bad for Tyrod, but how do you not play Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I remember when the Chiefs game was about to start, he found out 30 seconds before that he was going to start, and he almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that was really impressive. And I saw him go crazy, and I just knew that he was going to be a great quarterback, and he's showing it here.
And another thing that I didn't know, they said this on the broadcast, that he stayed in school for his senior year. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know he was smart, too. He finished with a 4.0 in biology. So he seems like an all-around good guy. And, you know, the Chargers, they usually lose those types of games. So it's good to see them finally win one. And finally, before I let you go, what's your prediction for tonight? We have Chicago and the LA Rams.
You know, I'm going to stay with this, you know, Bears ride. I'm going to ride them out. I think they're going to win the game 24-17. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chicago, too. I think the Rams are still a decent team, but I don't think they're as good as they've been in the past. You know, they lost a lot of pieces in the offseason, and I think Nick Foles is going to continue to get better and better each week. I'm going to go Chicago in a close one. I'm going to go 24-23, and they're going to go to 6-1. But we will talk about that more next segment with Trevor as we have the NFC segment coming up.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. All you do is sigh. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink.
If it's time for a drink this many times a day, you're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial. If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better health from the American Medical Association.
Portion of our show. And Trevor, the Eagles beat the Giants to move to 2-4-1, and that is good enough for first place in the AFC or in the NFC East.
It's so unbelievable to even say something like that, because you look at a division like the NFC West that has the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Rams, and only probably 2 or 3 of those teams can go. But then you look at the NFC East, and one of them is going to have home field advantage. With this, and the team that's in the lead is 2-4-1. And look at this play right here. So Daniel Jones, thinking he has it, going all the way. He could go all the. What's he doing there? He falls. Oh, man.
And he became a meme.
He became a meme.
So that was kind of symbolic of the Giants season and kind of like their organization over the last couple of years.
If that sums up the NFC East right there in
And
one
the
play.
NFC East, yeah. So yeah, the Eagles take this one 22-21, and you know, for as much flack as Carson Wentz has been taking this year, you got to give him credit. He's been stepping up his game, and he came up big time on Thursday Night Football.
He did. They were up. The Giants were up 21-10 late in the game. Probably around 4 or 5 minutes to go in the fourth, and then at one point they were up by only 1 score, and then I don't even remember who dropped it, but it was in crunch time on a 3rd and 2. He catches that ball, the Giants win, and then they gives the ball right back to Philly, and they go down the field and win a game-winning touchdown from, was it Boston Scott, I believe it was, scored that touchdown. But nonetheless, the Eagles barely won against the Giants, and they have the top of the division with a 2-4-1 record overall. It's unbelievable.
And another positive, well, it's a negative for the, well, it's good and bad for the Eagles. Bad because they have a lot of injuries. Good because Wentz is starting to make these guys into playmakers here. You know,
Yeah.
He's getting contributions from guys like Richard Rodgers, who we haven't heard of since his Green Bay days.
Yeah.
Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, Boston Scott, Greg Ward. Deshaun Jackson tried playing. He re-injured himself again.
Yep.
So, you know, again, as much flack as Wentz was taking, he really hasn't had a lot to work with. And like I said, he's starting to make these guys around him better.
Yeah, and especially guys like Travis Fulgham. Like, who would have thought this guy was just going to completely ball out in Philly so far? But then, yeah, Boston Scott obviously scoring the game-winning touchdown against the Giants. Granted, it is the Giants, but he needs these playmakers to make plays. Wentz, I mean, he's working with a bunch of players that you've never even heard of. I think he's making these players who they are, and that's the reason why they won that come-from-behind victory. Wentz is just that good of a quarterback, and then they were even throwing Jalen Hurts in some of those plays too, whether putting him out in the Wildcat or having him even catch passes. But yeah, Carson Wentz is making these players who they are. Even despite their record 2-4-1, I wouldn't count out the Eagles just yet.
Now, sticking with this same division, Washington beat Dallas 25-3 to move to 2-5, and they are a half game out of first place.
2-5 and a half a game out of first place. It isn't over for Dallas, but yeah, I mean, Washington, a team that Dallas usually has their number, forcing them to only a field goal. And I think what we need to talk about now about this game is obviously the Andy Dalton headshot and from John Bostic. Obviously, Andy Dalton giving himself up, he's sliding, the play's over, and then just an unnecessary hit that you just hate to see. I think Andy Dalton was unconscious for probably 10 seconds, it was. Didn't even take him to the blue tent. They took him directly to the locker room, and now he's going through the NFL concussion protocol. They're going with Ben DiNucci for next week again when they take on the Eagles. So we'll see what happens there. But I think obviously a suspension needed to be there for John Bostic because he only got ejected. He should have been suspended too.
And they said they're not going to suspend him, right?
Yeah, he's not getting a suspension at all.
So a completely dirty hit. Like you said, Dalton was giving himself up. He was like 75% of the way to the ground during his slide, and Bostic just literally leads in with his head to the point where his helmet flew off, and he was just knocked out cold. Dalton said he doesn't even remember what happened.
Yeah.
That's how knocked out he was. And the NFL's just like, Oh yeah, the only thing you're going to get is a 15-yard penalty.
And the NFL praises themselves on protecting our players and concussions, trying to knock down the amount of concussions that happen per year. Wouldn't you want to suspend a guy like John Bostic for doing something like that? He literally used his crown of his helmet as a weapon to knock down Andy Dalton. And his helmet flew right off and he smacked his head right on the turf and was just out. And now, is he even going to get a fine for this? Like, no suspension was given, but is there even going to be a fine?
Who knows? Who knows? I guess all we can do is pray that Andy Dalton heals fast and can get back to the Cowboys, because even they aren't out of it right now.
Yeah, they're not out of it. Even with a third-string quarterback and a 2-5 record, they're a half a game behind from having home field advantage in the playoffs. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
The door is still wide open in that division. So going over to the NFC North now, Green Bay won again. They beat the Texans 35-20, and Davante Adams, huge day.
Huge game. And correct me if I'm wrong, but before the game started, weren't they really unsure if he was going to play? He was questionable. And then, or I might not be thinking of him, but he had just had a breakout game against the Texans, and people still want to call Deshaun Watson elite. 1-6, I don't know if he's elite with a 1-6 record, but Aaron Rodgers has all day to throw. Easy touchdown for Adams.
Yeah, so Rodgers finished 23-34, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 132.4 rating. And then even more impressive, Davante Adams, 13 catches, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's crazy. That's just crazy.
I remember back in the day when the Texans' defense used to be the best part of their game. Now they're just leaving these wide receivers wide open. They're not even getting any pass rush on Aaron Rodgers. They're literally giving him 7 seconds to drop back and throw the ball and letting their receivers get wide open. These DBs are getting torched in Houston. It looked like maybe Bill O'Brien was back on the headset in this game, because it was just a bad performance overall for the Texans. And now they're 1-6 at the basement of the AFC South.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Texans. Packers, looking pretty good for them. Again, we're saying with the 49ers, the healthier they get, obviously, the better they are going to get. Same thing with the Packers. They're a little bit banged up. Once they get all their guys back, Davante Adams, he's been hurt. And obviously, you can see how beneficial he is to that offense.
Oh, he's huge.
The Packers are 5-1, and now going to the team right below them in the standings. Detroit improved to 3-3 yesterday, because guess what? Atlanta blew another lead.
And you were telling me a stat before we went on the air that it just blows my mind, the amount of times Atlanta loses these games. They're up ahead late in the game, every single time, and they find some way to just blow it. It's like I said about Bill O'Brien, it looked like Dan Quinn was in charge of the Falcons in this game. But man, I don't know what happened. I know Matthew Stafford, who's very underrated in this league, had an amazing game. Granted, they only won by a point against a not a very good team like the Falcons, but whatever, a win's a win, and I think you need to give Stafford some credit for this win. He's not given any credit at all, and I don't think the Lions team are very credited ever in any media. It's always negative about the Lions. It's time to say something good about them.
Matthew Stafford is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah. And
the stat that you were referencing, so for the 3rd time this year, the Falcons blew a game in which they had a 98% chance of winning. Late in the game.
Third time. It's like, I don't even know why the Falcons still have fans at this point. They've just given them nothing to cheer about. I don't know what's wrong with them. Matt Ryan's their only bright spot of that offense, or maybe that entire team.
And Todd Gurley. We'll give it to those three.
Can't forget about Julio Jones and Todd Gurley too. But Matt Ryan right here, 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the year, and he only has 1 win. You can't make this up.
And now they're talking about trading him and Julio Jones.
Yeah.
They're thinking about just completely stripping it down. But moving on now, sticking with the NFC South, Carolina, New Orleans. This was a great game, and the Saints pulled this one off 27-24.
And it was the game where Teddy Bridgewater faced against his team last year in the Saints, and he put on a pretty good game. It was sort of back and forth. It was tight the whole time. I think, you know, at one point, Carolina was up 14-10. It was just back and forth the whole time. And
Breeze found Jared Cook there.
In the corner of the end zone, who bobbled it just a bit.
Great catch. Way to maintain control as he was falling to the ground there.
Right here at the goal line, sneak for Drew Brees. He got in.
Yeah, so Breeze finished 29-36, 287 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had 14 carries for 83 yards, and then 65 yards receiving. And Breeze had 3 carries, 2 yards, and a touchdown. But, yeah, the Saints go to 4-2. The Panthers are 3-4. And, you know, the Panthers, 3-4 really isn't that bad, considering they have a new coach in Matt Ruley, and they've been without Christian McCaffrey for just about the whole year.
And a new quarterback under center, too.
Yeah.
You can't forget that. So, new coach, they're missing their number 1 player on offense, and basically the entire team for that matter. And they have a new quarterback. There's no more Cam Newton, no more Kyle Allen. You know, Teddy Bridgewater's holding his own, though. I think 3-4 is a decent record for him so far. Basically in his second year as a full-time starter here in the NFL.
Now, sticking with the same division, Tampa Bay and Las Vegas Raiders. Tampa Bay won 45-20, and it looks like it's going to be Tampa Bay and New Orleans fighting for that top seed in the NFC South.
And I hate saying this because I'm wearing a Colts jersey right now, and they've had Tom Brady's had the Colts number in the playoffs almost every single year. But Brady was balling out yesterday. 45 points, all scored on offense, with a 43-year-old quarterback under center. It's just something straight out of Madden. You'd see these stats, but. Obviously, Godwin had a good game. Evans had an efficient game. I think everyone was saying Tampa Bay might be that 8-8 team, that overhyped team. I can easily see them going 11-5 by the way that they're playing these games. Maybe even 12-4.
Yeah, Brady is just. I guess he never wants to get old.
Nope.
He's the ageless wonder, I guess. I hate to say it, but. He's 43 years old, throwing for 369 yards and 4 touchdowns.
It's crazy.
And now they signed Antonio Brown.
Which is only going to give Brady another weapon we'll throw into Godwin, Evans, Gronkowski. And you got...
Gronk's been turning it on the last few weeks.
And then...
Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. They still have LaShawn McCoy. Forgot about him.
And Brady loves the check down, too, so you can't not talk about the running backs because Brady's obviously going to throw it to guys like Fournette and Ronald Jones. But Brady's not. I mean, he's not done yet, and he's 43 going into age 44. It's crazy. Tom Brady has to be one of the best.
Well, just a couple of minutes left here, and we got to save enough time for potentially the best game of the year so far. Seattle and Arizona. The Cardinals took this one 37-34 in overtime on Sunday Night Football. That was just great. As soon as I got done watching the World Series, I was flipping back and forth, and as much as I wanted to watch the World Series, I just could not stop watching this game because it was that good.
Yeah, I remember just checking the score at one point, and it was 34-24 with less than 5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. And then you just see Kyler Murray lead this comeback, and the defense starting to show up when it had to. And obviously tying the game at 34 in crunch time. And then I think the highlight of the game is DK Metcalf running like 21 miles per hour.
22 miles per hour.
22 miles per hour to tackle, was it Baker who intercepted?
Buda Baker, yeah. So Wilson threw an interception, which he rarely does.
Yeah.
And
it was
Metcalf
a bad interception
tracked him down, topped out at like 22 or 23 miles per hour and tackled him. And I believe the Cardinals didn't even score on that possession.
No, they didn't. They got DK Metcalf saved them defensively, which is something that you never really see before.
Well, real quick, I just got to read through these stats real quick because we have to mention this.
This has to be one of the games of the year.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson was 33 of 50, 388 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 picks. So I said he doesn't throw a lot of picks, but he did. But like I said, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Tyler Lockett. 15 catches, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, 34 of 48, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. We're out of time. Real quick, Chicago, LA.
LA. I'm gonna say LA takes it by 10.
Okay, and I'm still going to stick with the Bears, and that game is underway right now. So thanks for coming on, Trevor. And in 3 minutes, Dee will be on to talk about the World Series.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation. We can.
Get someone a cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us. All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
D. Thomas joins us now to talk about the World Series, and since we ran out of time last segment, I just want to go back real quick and say that there is no score right now between the Rams and the Bears about halfway through the first quarter. The Rams are 4-2, and like I said, the Bears are 5-1, and then going back to that division, Seattle lost for the first time last night, so they're 5-1. Cardinals are 5-2. The Bills play the Seahawks and Cardinals over the next 3 weeks because they have the Patriots. So it goes New England, Seattle, Arizona, real tough for the Bills. And Dee, since you're a Cowboys fan, I have to ask your thoughts about that Andy Dalton hit.
One word, dirty. Absolutely dirty. Like, you know that we're down our quarterback. You know we're down Dak Prescott for the season. And you know that Andy Dalton is our second string quarterback. Yeah, he has experience. Yeah, he's great. But you take him out, then we're stuck with our third string quarterback who was a freshman in James Madison, didn't play a single minute, and immediately steps foot into an NFL game. Has no experience. So, I'm very upset that there was not a suspension. I'm glad that he was ejected, but there needs to be a fine or a suspension in that hit because it was very unnecessary.
Yeah, that was just, like we were saying, a blatant, unnecessary, or blatant personal foul, dirty hit. Like, I don't really know the word. It's just wrong.
Just terrible. Should have never happened. You know he's going down. Why go head to head?
Yeah. So going over to the World Series now, this has been great. I mean, we talked about it last week. It's the first time in a few years that we've had the teams with the 2 best records in each league matching up in the World Series, and it hasn't disappointed yet. So the Dodgers took Game 1, the Rays took Game 2, Dodgers Game 3, Rays Game 4, Dodgers Game 5. It's literally been back and forth. So if we're following the same trajectory, the Dodgers are going to win in 7. But, I mean, I can totally see
The Rays
this.
would win in 7.
No, Dodgers won Game 1.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So they would win Game 6, and then
1, 3,
Dodgers
5, 7, yeah.
So it would be neither of our predictions because I have Dodgers in 6 and you have Rays in 7. So, but like looking at these finals, like Dodgers took Game 1 by a long shot, and then the Rays took Game 2, and then the Dodgers took Game 3. Rays came back and won in Game 4 on a crazy play, but we'll get to that. And then Game 5, you know, Kershaw pitched very, very well, and now we got Game 6. That's tomorrow. But I think it's really up in the air now. Like you have no idea who's gonna win. It's not a blowout. It's not anything like that. It's very close games, no matter what.
Yeah, like I said, it's just been back and forth, and I think it's so cool because you have the Dodgers, one of the biggest market teams in the league, against the Rays, one of the smallest market teams. And we talked about the salary differences last week too. How Kershaw and Mookie Betts make up just about the whole Tampa Bay Rays roster.
Oh yeah, like Kershaw and Betts, you know, total up together maybe like $26 million, and the total of the whole Rays team salary is $28 million. That's just, it's a crazy amount of money that these teams shuck out, and it's only the 2 players on the Dodgers that make the whole Rays salary. You can see the big difference between, you know, how much money they get.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's just so cool because I've always rooted for the small market teams. I love seeing teams like that when, like, I like the Pirates, I like the Indians because, I mean, I'm really a Yankees fan like we know, but I like the small market teams, the local teams, you know, Milwaukee Brewers, Oakland with, you know, Billy Beane and small ball. So I usually root for those teams, but I got to go with the Dodgers here because...
Oh, so you're changing your prediction?
No, I mean, I still think the Rays are going to win. Yeah, I'll still go with the Rays, but like I want the Dodgers because I don't want the same team in the same division as the Yankees winning the series.
But it makes the division look good.
I do respect what they're doing. Yeah.
It does make the division look good though. I mean, I would like the Yankees, but we can't always get what we want. So.
What would you say that if the Red Sox won?
No.
Not exactly.
No. Anyone in that conference can win except the Boston Red Sox.
And, you know, a couple players that we want to highlight here. First, for Tampa Bay, Randy Arozarena. He set a postseason record with 9 home runs. And he passed Barry Bonds, Corey Seager, and Nelson. Okay, so it was Barry Bonds in 2002, Nelson Cruz in 2011, Beltran in 2004, and now Seager this year. They all had 8. So Arozarena hit 9. Now, I will say there is a difference this year because there were more postseason games because of the new format, but still, for a rookie to hit 9 home runs in the postseason, that's pretty incredible right there.
Oh yeah, and there's another player that stands out too is Justin Turner. Justin Turner of the Dodgers has hit 12 in the postseason, and he's
12
home runs, hasn't he?
I don't think so because Arozarena, he just set the record with 9.
I thought I saw a statistic where he tied Duke Snider for the most homers in Dodgers history with 12.
I will check that right now.
Because I knew about the Arozarena one, but I also knew about Justin Turner when he blasted his home run on top of the first of Game 3.
Okay, he has 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and he's hitting .262. So that must have been something else.
Well,
but nonetheless,
it's from MLB. He tied a record with Duke Snider for something, so with 12 something. Probably, it's obviously not home runs, but Another person that sticks out is Kershaw.
Yeah, Kershaw's been coming alive here, which is great to see because he usually falls apart in the postseason. And the Dodgers usually do too. So, like I said, I'm rooting for the Dodgers to pull it out here because Dave Roberts is another one. We've seen him over the last couple of postseasons. I mean, they've been in the series. This is their third time in 4 years that they've been in the World Series. And Dave Roberts usually overthinks himself and messes around with his starters and the bullpen. And I've always been on the side of just go with the hot hand, you know? If the pitcher's throwing well, leave him in. If a guy's hitting well, don't pinch hit for him. And Roberts always seems to go with the analytics and kind of overthink himself, but so far it's been working out.
Yeah, and Kershaw really bounced back from the last series against the Braves. He had some rocky outings against them, and he's turned around. And you know, in Game 1, he pitched 6 innings. He only gave up 2 hits, 1 run with 8 Ks. And then just yesterday, he gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, and had 6 Ks. Which I mean, that's still impressive for how everything's going. And yesterday's matchup with Kershaw and Glasnow, like Glasnow's 0-2 in this series, and he's usually pretty hot. But I don't know. They have Snell tomorrow pitching, and I'm not sure who's starting for the Dodgers tomorrow, but it's really going to be interesting on how this game's going to end, how the series is going to end, because there's 2 more days.
Now, another player I want to highlight real quick, Corey Seager. He's been great this postseason. He's hitting .344, 8 home runs, 19 RBIs, and 22 hits. So it's great to see the Dodgers getting contributions from him too, as maybe this is their year that they can finally pull it off. Game 6 tomorrow night. 8:08. Are you looking for the probables?
I am not. I looked up the Justin Turner ties Duke Snider atop Dodgers postseason home run list with.
All time. Okay, career.
Yes.
Okay, I did hear that.
Yes.
So,
I knew my stat was right.
Yeah.
I knew my stat was right. I needed to look it up. So, like I said, I still have Dodgers in 6. I've had this prediction for a few weeks now, so.
Yeah, I don't want to, go against myself, so I'm still going to say Rays in 7, but the Dodgers, they're looking good right now, and they might be able to close the series out tomorrow night in Arlington for Game 6. So thanks for coming on. I'm going to go off, and we're going to have Jared and Josh come on to talk about soccer next. So I will see you guys next Monday, same time, same place, and I have to say, go Bills.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation. We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us. All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time to talk some Premier League. Me and Jared are going to talk about it. But first, Kevin wanted me to say that the probabilities for pitchers tomorrow for the Game 6 is Blake Snell and Tony Gonsolin. So that's Kevin's little last tidbit of information for the week. But now, this is my show. So we were going to talk a little bit about some Premier League teams this week. So Jared, I'll let you kick it off here. And no pun intended.
Yeah, we got a brand new season of the Premier League, 2020. I mean, obviously it's very different, with COVID and obviously no fans in the stands. But there's still great games to watch. I mean, you got your team at the top of the table.
Everton's at the top of the table for once. I don't think I've ever seen that, and they were off to a rip-roaring start.
Yeah.
Undefeated, and I mean they fell off past couple games or so, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so good teams like Spurs, Man U, Man City, they're all falling off to the middle of the table or even lower than that. But teams like Aston Villa and Leeds United, who were just in the Championship League a couple of years ago, are coming in 3rd and 5th in the table, and it's crazy. I mean, there's nothing. Yeah. This is the perfect 2020 season.
I know.
That's the only way you can explain it.
Yeah, and
what are your thoughts on this whole craziness that you see, like teams like Man U at the bottom, and more like teams like Man City at the bottom?
I mean, it's just it's crazy. I mean, you got the Spurs. I mean, they're decent. I mean, Harry Kane and Son and all that, but even Man U and Man City. I mean, they were great teams.
Man City won the Premier League 2 years ago.
Yeah, and now they're I don't even know what place actually they're in.
I think they're probably close to 9th.
It's like
or 10th.
13th place, I think it is. Yeah. I mean, and Manchester United's at 15th place. I mean, I don't know. It's I guess that sums up 2020.
Yeah. So some other big news coming out of the Premier League. Mesut Ozil, a German soccer star, well, at least back in 2014 he was dropped from Arsenal, which is actually news to me. I wasn't aware that he was dropped. He's been a star for Arsenal forever, and he's fallen out of favor a lot with the new manager there. So what's your whole take on this? I don't understand it personally. I don't get why they would try to get rid of him.
Yeah, it's I was actually reading this today. So he sent out a tweet last December to China about this whole, because apparently they're treating the Muslims really bad in a region. I'm not even sure what region it is.
Yeah.
And so this blew up. I mean, China pretty much banned him from everything. I mean, so if he can't play in China, he can't do anything with China. China doesn't want anything to do with him. So this article also said that the new manager at
Mikel Arteta.
At Arsenal.
Yep.
He wants Ozil to be on the team, but he doesn't want to play him, which I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me because they're not doing so hot.
It's like what Real Madrid was just doing with Gareth Bale before he came back to Spurs. They were just sitting him on the bench, and you're paying guys millions and millions of dollars to just sit on the bench, and they're amazing soccer players. And I don't get it.
I think they should be playing Ozil. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know why this whole thing blew up. I mean, even I found this. Even he said something to the president of Turkey.
Well, yeah, because Ozil is originally he's one of those people who's he's from Turkey. He was born in Turkey, but he lived most of his life in Germany. That's why he played for Germany in his international career. Yeah. So he took offense to everything that was going on to the Muslims in China, because that's a predominantly the section of Muslims that were being discriminated against are predominantly from Turkey. So Ozil was taking offense to that because that's his original home country,
which makes sense. I mean, it's just I don't know. The whole thing is just I don't know. I wish this guy would just play. I mean, I like watching him play because he's just so good in the midfield.
Right.
And they need
well,
him.
He controls play a lot, and yeah, Arsenal needs him. They're another one of those teams that are good but are struggling.
Yeah.
But so as we were saying though before, my team Everton is at the top of the table, and their crosstown rivals Liverpool are right on their tails. Liverpool just won the Premier League last year. The two of them are battling out for the top spot in the league right now, and I love it. I think it's great that you know, these two. The Merseyside derby is always crazy, and especially this year because Jordan Pickford tore Virgil van Dijk his ACL, who is arguably one of the best defenders in the world. Yeah, but you know, Liverpool's falling into a lot of trouble with positive COVID tests. They had Sadio Mane test positive. They had Thiago test positive. Thiago just came in from Bayern Munich. So they're getting all these additions or just the players they've had forever, but there's COVID problems, there's play problems, there's injuries. So things are just not adding up for Liverpool right now. And it just, you know, I love to see it, but I'm sure other people don't.
Yeah. I mean, going back to that whole Thiago thing, I mean, this was a great addition for them, especially in the midfield. I mean, with Jordan Henderson and James Milner and even Wijnaldum. I mean, but again, he tests positive for COVID. The whole COVID thing is just, it's getting on my nerves.
Yeah, it's ruining a lot of, I mean, obviously it's affected a lot of people in terrible ways, but it's ruining even stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, not to say sports don't matter. This is a sports show, but in the grand scheme of things, with everything going on right now, it's kind of taken like the backstage to everything else. But when it does come back like this, then you see how it really affects it. But as we've been saying all night, Everton is at the top of the table. They won 3 games in a row, and they lost yesterday to Southampton, and I was very upset about that. Alex Iwobi is looking like an awful signing. They paid him $40 million to concede goals, basically, and he's a midfielder, so he's not supposed to do that. I mean, nobody's supposed to do that. But it's just no one looked like they were there. Their big guys didn't show up. I mean, Iwobi was just a nothing burger, and Gylfi Sigurdsson, the captain, did not do much at all. And I think his age is starting to get to him personally, but I still love him. And you know, their leading scorer, Dom Calvert-Lewin, he scored 7 goals in 5 Premier League matches. He had no shots yesterday, so there's that too. Which honestly, you could probably put this on Southampton's ability to shut down Everton
for sure.
So, and they knew they were going to have to do that, but I think they're going to bounce back nicely. I think it'll be easy to come back, and you know, they got the momentum, and everyone falls off every once in a while. You know?
So here's a big thing though that came out of this game. Seamus Coleman. I mean, he comes off an injury, and they. I'm not sure if did they get this guy Ben Godfrey.
Yeah.
He steps in at right back, and he plays up too much. And this is what their coach was saying, that he looked confused on what position to play. I mean, he was all over the field, and apparently he actually caused Southampton's second goal.
Yeah. No. You know, with Seamus Coleman, only last year we saw him. He tore his ankle apart on an awful tackle, and it was people were wondering if he was ever going to play again. And he comes back, and now he's out with another injury, and Godfrey steps in, and like you said, he just didn't know where he was going. I didn't like the signing of him either. I mean, to be fair, he is a young, unproven guy, but it wasn't the time. Like I understand Coleman got injured, but he probably should have tried to find somebody else to put in there. It was an unfortunate series of events, basically.
Yeah, unfortunately, not a good performance, but hey, I mean, they're still on top. I wouldn't be worried.
I loved, and at first I was very skeptical of signing James Rodriguez.
Oh yeah,
but he has
too.
been absolutely incredible. I mean, I think he's up to 8 points in 5 games. He's got three assists and 5 goals. He's just tearing it up right now, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really different season with COVID, especially.
Yeah, and hopefully Everton can stay on top. But that's all the time we have this week. I've never really wrapped up one of these shows before. So thank you for tuning in, and everyone have a great week. Go Bills, and maybe go Sabres if they do something cool.
man.